Hey guys, Disaster Area here with a new video. I know it's been a bit over a week. Trying to do an upload every week has been a bit ambitious, and I wasn't sure if I was going to make this video because, I didn't want to do this until my team was out of Mushy League and we could have made finals. So, anyway, and I've been feeling pretty sick. I'm still not feeling great, but I've made I've not told you that much, but hopefully made some big improvements to the sound of my videos as well. I'm sure you can hear it. Unless I've done a terrible job, in which case feel free to just tell me I'm awful in the comments, but please don't. Be nice. Okay, anyway, that's a whole 45 seconds of preambling. I'm almost BKC. This video is about Jirachi. I'm going to introduce to you the set of the future. And it's called that, and the set's name is Futurachi because it uses moves that have an impact in the future, like a turn or two later. That's why it's called that. So what is Futurachi? It's Jirachi with Wish and Tomb Desire. So two moves operate in the future, hence the name. The idea originally was PK Leeches to put Wish and Doom Desire together on a defensive Jirachi. And then it was my idea to, I kind of fleshed out the idea of all sorts of bells and whistles. So if anyone gets any credit, be between the two of us. And there's also another variant of this as well called Omnirachi, but we will get to that later. All of the juicy stuff, there's a lot to go into here. Even though I'm feeling sick, I'm starting to feel on my game now. So, because I got a nice setup. So, but anyway, Doom Desire. What the hell does it do? Is because you've not seen this move before, have you? You're aware it exists. Maybe you've seen, if you've been following for a while, you might have seen BKC experimenting with Choice Band Doom Desire, which it sounds kind of neat, but I think it's a bit it's not as flexible as this set. So we'll get into it. Let's get into it. What does Doom Desire do? It's got a lot of upsides, got a lot of downsides, a lot of weird quirks. It's even got its own Pokemon Showdown bug, but luckily it's just visual, so it doesn't affect how it actually works. But it's typeless, which is a double-edged sword, but I think mostly good for it. But this means that against Tyranitar, you're not getting any super effective bonus against Swampert. There's no resistance nerfing it. So it does mean the damage is pretty consistent. The damage is also calculated on the turn of use, so there's two different stats here then that end up mattering. The defense of the Pokemon you're using Doom Desire on, and then the HP of the Pokemon that takes the hit 2 turns later. Now obviously those can be two different Pokemon, and ideally you want it to be a Pokemon with low defense first, and then a Pokemon with low HP after. And this is really all the rest of the video is how do you actually engineer that scenario, at least some of the time. But there's also some other cool upsides. So one thing is ignoring Protect, which is pretty neat. The turn you use Doom Desire, Protect does not block it. The turn Doom Desire hits, Protect does not block it. So you do 50 to a Skarm with Thunder. Then it protects to gain some lefties before switching out. You Doom Desire as it does that. Now Skarm's physically defensive, so that Doom Desire is not going to do a lot. But it's better than doing nothing. The only other option you've got to do anything productive that turn is Wish. Also, you've got a Swampert that's protecting you to gain lefties and so on and so forth. Doom Desire, when it does that, free damage. Obviously, the thing is those 3 turns where Doom Desire is good, Wish is also good, but they can work differently in different stages in the game and in different scenarios, right? It's 120 base power, which is really pretty freaking good. In ADV 50, Future Sight's usable on Xatu with only 80 base power, but there's a lot more quirks to the metagame that make it particularly good there. But in Advanced OU, Future Sight's maybe a bit of a reach, but Doom Desire has got 50% more power, and it's just awesome. 85% accuracy. Now this just kind of fucking sucks. I just wish it was 100%. I didn't know why they had to do this. it definitely makes it a little bit less forcing, but it's still very. It can still be very threatening, and it's not like you don't use Fire Blast. It's something I can maybe get into in like another video, but overall, using moves with like slightly lower percentage accuracy is still good for your overall consistency, because it's all about maximizing probabilities. You're never going to get 100% win except in like specific endgames, right? So anyway, if you want a move like Doom Desire, you don't really have much of a choice. So, and then the final mechanic worth mentioning here is the damage is dealt after the berry check, which is pretty cool. There's quite a few things that actually do damage after the berry check. This is like looking for when like Salak Berry will be triggered, but like Toxic also triggers after the berry check. So if you poison an input, it won't immediately use its Salak Berry unless it's below 25% before taking poison damage. And this is also true with Doom Desire damage, which is pretty nifty. So if you've got like say like a Mixed Man's in against like an input or whatever, and you Dragon Claw it, and then it takes that Doom Desire damage. I don't know about like, the specific scenario. I actually have a replay of it happening, but we'll just get to it when we get to the replay. But basically, the ability to not trigger the Salak straight away is pretty nice. It's like one of those small little upsides of it. It also goes through Wonder Guard. For anybody wondering, I was wondering. I haven't verified it on cartridge though, so if somebody can check that, that's still awesome. But my understanding is it does just go through Wonder Guard as well, which is cool to know. God, I'm just thinking about how cool this move could be in Hackmons. Anyway, so the general idea, right, is we want to be using this against low defense Pokemon and then getting the damage to hit against low HP Pokemon. So let's first look at what kind of damage it actually does, as I think that that's like a good starting point. It's like, well, how much damage is this actually doing? So this will be in the description as well, but this is just a something I made in Google Sheets to illustrate like the damage that it does. So the first couple rows here are maybe like a bit facetious. You won't really see good players using Zero Defense Blissey, and in practice it's really quite hard to get this off against Smiggle. So although against Zero Defense Blissey you can net a lot of one-hit KOs with this thing, in practice it's not doing that much damage. But I don't know what you consider good damage. I mean, like a free 15%, which as you can see is extremely easy to get, is pretty good in some situations. I'd say like a free 25% is really pretty significant, as that's what you get against that's enough to break a substitute. And anything upwards of like 40 to 50% is like incredible damage. So I've color coded this. Well, let me explain how this all works one step at a time. So on the left is the Doom Desire target. The best one you'll practically see is 252 Defense Blissey. The damage range is in the HP dealt, which is 170 to 201. You can see at the bottom end, you're doing around 70-ish to like physically defensive stuff against something like Starmie and Zapdos without defense investment, which are like, they're not frail Pokemon, but they're also not like crazy physically bulky either. You're doing around about a Seismic Toss worth of damage. Against Snorlax, you're doing better than that, or Charizard, you're doing better than that. And as you can see with even frailer Pokemon, the damage only gets better. And then along the top, we've got the defenders. So on what matters to the defenders is the HP investment. On the far left, we've got those with like really low HP stats, like Dugtrio, Cloyster, Gengar, Starmie. And then on the far end, you've got quite high HP stuff. So there's the base 100s that can hit 404. There's Blissey as well, which hits 651 without investment. And then obviously in the middle bit, we've got here's the damage as a percentage. Now I've color coded it as well. So black is a chance of a one hit KO. Light blue is less than 15%. Darker blue under 20. Light green under 25. As like the low range. I guess one of those is the wrong color. Anyway, and then like darker green below 30. Yellow, which is you're getting really good, is below 35. Orange below 50. Light red below 60, and then dark red 60, but not above 60, but not one hit KOing. So, the row you probably really want to start focusing on is the third row down. So Blissey with 252 defense. So Gengar and Starmie, it does like 65 to 77% against them, which is ridiculous damage. Zapdos is doing over 50%. Well, bulky Gengar and Starmie is still doing over 50. Against the Spikers, like Forretress and Skarm, is still doing around 50. Against Metagross is doing around 50. Against the 404 HP crowd is doing over 40. Against Blissey itself is doing 26 to 31. So if you can get a Doom Desire off against Blissey itself, you're doing awesome. Now, obviously, in practice, a lot of the time you won't get that, but there's quite a few different good targets, things that like to switch into Jirachi as well, like Charizard, Moltres, Zapdos, Gengar, Dugtrio. Obviously, Dugtrio is a bit of a weird one. And we'll get to Dugtrio in a lot more depth in a bit. But it hopefully gives you a bit of a sense of like the kind of damage it does. I've bolded as well instances of damage being done to the Pokemon itself. So if you look at Starmie and Zapdos, it's around about the middle row and quite far to the right on the chart. You can see against the 252 HP Zapdos, it's doing 25.8 to 30.5%. So against subpar Zapdos, it always does enough to break the sub. Hey, pretty nice. So, yeah, it's an example of the kind of damage that it does. It would be lovely if somebody could make like an interactive version of this of some kind. But you can kind of deduce this yourself within the calc. But obviously it's not the quickest thing because you need to look at like the damage ranges and then look at what that damage range means in terms of the Pokemon taking the hit. And obviously there's like a bit of extra uncertainty as well with the defense investment of the first Pokemon, the HP investment of the second. Even more uncertainty than when it comes to just a single Pokemon. Let's say you do Doom Desire against the Snorlax, and then a Metagross comes in and takes the hit. So here it's showing, if we go along, 101 to 119 damage, so 29.4 to 34.7%. But if the Metagross has a ton of HP investment, it'll do less. If it's got less so like, this could actually do a ton. If the Snorlax is cheating on its defense, and the Metagross is quite low HP, then maybe you could get as high as 40, I don't know. Whereas, maybe it's like quite a physically defensive Snorlax, and like a max HP Metagross, which you might see on some bulky teams, then it maybe could be as low as 25. So, even so, 29 to 35 is still a pretty typical range. But yeah, hopefully this helps give you like a sense of the kind of damage that it does, even though there can be like a lot more uncertainty involved. So, let's get back to the actual sets, right? And I'm not even gonna get to like the EV spreads first. We need to like talk about the moves first. So this is kind of like where my contribution had been. Like, okay, this is what you want to do with Doom Desire. How do you go about achieving it, right? So you've got 2 move slots left on the set. And I know this looks like quite chaotic, but I kind of just want to be like quite thorough here. But you know what's actually a good option? There's a lot to play with, to be honest, but you don't need to use anything. A lot of these options I personally wouldn't try. I think the thing as well you can compare it with is with other defensive Jirachi, which run Wish, Protect, Fire Punch, and then Body Slam or Toxic. Those are pretty common, and some of those options work well here, some not so well. But it's like you're replacing Protect with Doom Desire and then going from there. But the third slot, I think like the most important thing, the most physically defensive Pokemon in OU are like Skarmory, Metagross, Fortress. Plus they spike 2 out of 3 of those. So being able to hit them super effectively or just very hard on the special side, just in general using like a strong special attack makes a lot of sense. So Thunder's actually been my favorite option, and it's not even been close. Partly because it also does a ton to Suicune, partly because with Serene Grace and Thunder's accuracy, there's effectively a 42% paralysis rate, so close to 50%, 4 in 10 or so. It's very good. And it hits pretty hard, which considering you can't really afford to invest much in, if at all, in your attacking stats, is a boon. It's like this Jirachi's can't invest much offensively, but it can run strong moves, and that does put in a lot of work. But Thunderbolt's obviously like a weaker, more accurate option that achieves the same thing coverage-wise. Fire Punch hits Metagross harder, hits Fortress harder, can spread burns on Tyranitar and Swampert. So I could definitely see a lot of players opting for that. And then the last slot, so there is a heck of a lot of different ways of going about this. It depends on like how afraid you are of Dugtrio, how much you want to scare other Pokemon, how good you want the Jirachi's coverage to be on its own. Do you want to try and force out the Blissey on your own or not? And how afraid are you of status? So I've color coded these as well. And to be honest, there's actually 4 different options on here that I like, and then Pico Leech is the 5th one. So, I'll let you guess, like, before watching the rest of this, what move you think it should be using. There's some which I'm sure you're being like, that's obviously wrong, and then I've used anyway. And there's some moves that have like quite interesting combinations with like the moves in the 3rd slot as well. But anyway, let's get into it. So the moves I've colored in yellow, those are like anti-Dugtrio options. So Body Slam obviously has a 60% paralysis rate and can hit Dugtrio, unlike Thunder. Skill Swap steals the Arena Trap. Reflect results in Earthquake doing less than half, and Protect works in tandem with Wish and lets Doom Desire do its job. Now, I want to go into these in a little bit more detail. I'll go into skill swap in quite a bit more detail after I go through the rest of them, actually. But with Body Slam, and there is quite a neat sequence. As we saw, Doom Desire against Dugtrio is very juicy. So if somebody is careless with their Dugtrio, comes in on a Doom Desire, while your Body Slam Jirachi is very healthy, you survive an Earthquake and you Body Slam them, and you get the 60% paralysis. There's a lot of what ifs, but bear with me. You know, suppose all that happens, then they're left with Dugtrio that's about to die, and then their next Pokemon is going to take, like, what, 150, 170 damage? You know, that's going to be like 36% probably against like their best Pokemon, maybe a lot more than that. So it's pretty disruptive there. Body Slam as well pairs nicely with Thunder for paralysis spreading. Reflect and Fire Punch are quite cute together. It makes you quite good against Metagross. Yeah, and then look at coverage options as well briefly. So, Hidden Power Grass is my favorite coverage option beyond the when it comes to like coverage stuff. So yeah, the ones in yellow is anti-Dugtrio options. The ones in light blue, as you said, are coverage options. So even though Electric Grass, or even is maybe not the world's best coverage, I mean Fire Grass is also not too bad. The ability to dissuade like Skarmory and Swampert just gives even fewer Pokemon on a team to actually be able to switch into Jirachi. And the more you can do that, the more you can focus on getting Blissey to take those hits and do immense damage. Ice Punch as well obviously has great coverage in tandem with Thunder and Thunderbolt. Psychic as well works particularly well with Fire Punch. So those are options you can consider as well. Just they're kind of like more general purpose. They'll do some damage to Dugtrio, but ultimately, like with some common Jirachi variants, it can be a bit Dugtrio weak, but the upsides from that can be pretty big. So I think there's definitely a lot more room to explore there than I've done. I've tried like Fire Punch HP Grass and Thunder HP Grass, but I've not really experimented with Ice Punch or Psychic at all. So the third thing is moves that force Blissey out directly. So these moves, in a sense, make the Jirachi more self-sufficient. Like Toxic, Fire Punch, Wish, Doom Desire, which is something PK Leech has been using, functions a lot like Fear Jirachi, the Wish, Protect, Fire Punch Toxic variant, but it's not got quite the same stalling potential, but it's pretty good against Blissey. So, this is an approach you can take. Dynamic Punch and HG Fighting are also great against Tyranitar, which is one of the things that will try and block your Doom Desire as well, on like a TSS type structure. So hitting that hard certainly not like a bad thing, but my personal approach is I want to be using coverage that helps me out against Dugtrio and that helps me force out physically defensive Pokemon so that I can focus on Blissey and then use Future Archie's partners, which is something else we'll get to as well. Use Future Archie's partners to force out Blissey so that something else takes immense damage. And finally, I also wanted to mention Refresh here. It doesn't help you like narrow down the Pokemon you can hit, but it does help you with clearing status. However, Skill Swap is probably better for that and more multi-purpose, which is so funny. On almost any other Pokemon, Refresh is a million times more awesome than Skill Swap for it, but for this Jirachi, inexplicably, Skill Swap's actually the better one. So now let's talk about Skill Swap Future Jirachi, otherwise known as Omnirachi. That's my name for it because it does all the things. Wish, Doom Desire, Thunder, Skill Swap. What a set, huh? It actually does like a lot of nice things. So what? And I might have cut this graphic up halfway through making the video because I forgot to have it ready before production. Very clever. So obviously, one of the most obvious uses is to just escape trapping. Arena Trap's usually the big one, but escaping Magneton's also nice. I mean, if you're running Fire Punch, then it's less useful to escape Magneton. But like I said, I prefer Thunder generally, so it's quite nice. My voice might also sound a bit funny in this one because I am ill, but anyway, Natural Cure is like the other really huge one. So Thunder Wave Blissey, Thunder Wave Starmie, you can steal the Natural Cure, you can paralyze them with Thunder or burn them with Fire Punch, and then when they switch out and back in, they'll still be statused, you won't be, and you've got a Doom Desire off for good measure, and those are good Pokemon to get it off against. Stealing it from Celebi as well is not quite as good, but again, you can at least get Paralysis to stick on it for once. So that's quite neat. You can still Levitate, So, although you don't really do anything to Flygon and Claydol, especially if you're not Fire Punch, it's still kind of nice to just be able to sit on them, and at least when you're levitating, you can't be trapped. So against Claydol Dugtrio teams, that's quite nifty. Against Claydol Dugtrio, like Blissey, I guess like a team like that, half the Pokemon you kind of like using Skill Swap against is pretty cool. So, yeah, so there are other options as well. It's pretty obnoxious against Swift Swim, and to a lesser extent Chlorophyll as well. Although with Swift Swim, then you've also got like the Rain Accurate Thunders to abuse and everything. So, yeah, Futurachi is really good against Rain of all things, or really nice to have. You can at least steal Swift Swim so that then like your Mixmans can revenge the swimmer if your Jirachi does go down. And then finally I wanted to mention Metagross. So with Metagross, you do not always want to do this. Absolutely, you do not always want to give it Serene Grace Meteor Mash. That is an absolute recipe for disaster. But the big but is you can get Intimidate off against it. So if you've got a Salamence or maybe a Gyarados, then at least you can like switch into Meteor Mash and Intimidate it. And then hopefully force it out with like a strong Fire Blast or Earthquake. So you'd be surprised that that's actually a useful play to make sometimes, but obviously it does highlight the fact that Skill Swap is not a riskless move. So those are the moves. What about the spreads? Yeah, we're like 30 minutes into the video nearly, and we're just talking about the spreads of this set. There's a lot to it, isn't there? Definitely say this spread is more... Well, this set is not very beginner friendly at all. You know, Doom Desire's also got quite low PP, which is annoying, but I forgot to mention that earlier. But it's very much like a strategic positioning tool where you get damage on in certain ways. I'll get into like the teammates later, and that will like really make it clear like how you're using it. But in terms of the spreads, these are roughly what I like. You do not have to religiously follow these, but I've got a more defensive spread, a more specially defensive spread, and a more specially offensive spread. And then I've highlighted against key physical attackers, special attackers, and defenders, the damage ranges, depending on the spread. So you can see against Jolly Doug, it maxes out at 85 against the physically defensive spread and 91 against the less defensive spreads. Zapdos is doing a bit more to the first spread than the second one. Skarm is a bit more afraid of thunders when you invest a bit, and Hidden Power Cross also does like quite a meaningful bit more to defensive Swampert. So yeah, there's some considerations to make. I'd say it's kind of like with Snorlax spreads, although not quite as complicated. It's really kind of up to you what you feel comfortable with. Like, do you want more defense? How afraid are you of Dugtrio? Do you have like your matchup split in a certain way where like maybe Dugtrio doesn't matter so much? Are you pretty soft to electrics and you want a bit of extra special defense to play with? Is your team like really defensively solid and you want like a bit more power to really scare out your like special walls and so on? So that's very much up to you. But the ideal partners tend to be these three bad boys, although it's far from exclusive. So what you want in a partner, and obviously you build teams of 6 Pokemon, these are just like the most focal partners. So they have like a specific job to do, which is forcing Blissey out by hitting it really hard. Fighting types like Kariyama, as well as like Metacham and Heracross, if you're so inclined, they do a pretty good job of that. Since if Blissey stays in, you can just kill them anyway. Snorlax, maybe not quite as effectively, unless you run Brick Break, which I don't think is a bad shout, necessarily, although I've not done it. But you could do it in tandem with like a Focus Punch as well. Physical T-Tar as well. Those are like 3 different Pokemon that can all force Blissey out, aren't too hard to fit, have like some nice defensive properties anyway that make you want to use them. There are also Pokemon that have little to no recovery on their own. Obviously there's like Curse Restlax, but you don't really want to use that with this set. You can run Rest and Hariyama, but again, it's not amazing, and it doesn't even have recovery in sand. Tyranitar does recover in sand, but it's kind of a tank, where it's kind of trying to deal more damage than it receives. Poor coverage, so Tyranitar doesn't quite have this issue. Hariyama and Snorlax do to some extent, whereas maybe not so much like poor coverage as that they have like flawed coverage. So like Snorlax, not that much stuff resists normal, but a lot of stuff is like spikers and lower HP steel types. So Skarmory, Fortress, Metagross, we mentioned them earlier. Those are like some of your biggest Snorlax switch-ins. They're also some of your biggest Hariyama switch-ins. So if you could get like a Doom Desire from Blissey, switch to your Snorlax or your Hariyama, and just Body Slam or Brick Break or whatever, Focus Punch even, then the switching will just drop. And we will see this in action, don't worry, I've come with replays for this one. It's not just like Fortress where I just like, oh, here's how you use Fortress. There will be replays, and I've got an absolutely magical one that even Roro said was amazing, Megan said was amazing, to finish it off. But like the other thing as well, like in addition to like to that stuff, they also have good natural bulk, right? So these are like the strengths and weaknesses that make up like a good Jirachi partner. Because obviously every Pokemon's got downsides, but these are like the kind of downsides that like Wish and Doom Desire support. Doom Desire fundamentally is a tool that augments Pokemon's damage that they do. So you can make resistances and immunities, and that's key. Gengar is also like another switch in with low HP. It can make those immunities and those resistances irrelevant, because you can use a move knowing full well the Pokemon that's coming in is not even going to take any damage from it, and still do 50% because you've got Doom Desire active. That's what makes it so potent, right? It's not just, on its own it can do this damage. It's, you add that on top of like a strong physical attack, and suddenly it's hitting whatever your opponent does. So I hope I made that clear. So next I want to look at some teams, and then I want to finish off with some replays. Now I'm going to go through a small number of teams, but there is going to be quite a few linked in the description. Not all of them have been tested. Quite definitely some of them are pretty flawed. But hopefully at least it gives you some inspiration for your own usage. And these are teams that I've enjoyed using. So without further ado, this has actually been one of my favourite ones. Even though it's got Skill Swap Jirachi, it's got Omnirachi and Breloom. Love calling it It's so funny. But here we see Snorlax is the partner. In fact, that's going to be, of all the ones I'm going to showcase, Snorlax is the partner, although there are some with other partners below. But here, the idea, you've got Mixmance that pressures against Skarmory. You've got Pursuitar that helps you deal with Gengar, but that's backed up as well by Zap Cannon Fortress, by Breloom as well, which can sleep Gengar or sleep Skarmory, and then you've got Snorlax, which is backed up by this Doom Desire Jirachi. So you've got multiple ways of poking at Gengar, poking at Skarmory, poking maybe at Fortress as well, pressuring them, forcing them to switch out, doing damage with spikes. Mixmance and spikes, classic combination. Adding a Pursuitar, even more dangerous. Thunder Wave on Pursuitar, which is something I'm also going to get into another video. Absolutely delicious. It's you can use it over Crunch, because if you paralyze Gengar, it's as good as crunching it pretty much. Yeah, Crunch often isn't going to kill either, but with Thunder Wave you've neutralized it pretty intensely. And that hits so many other Pokemon as well. like Zapdos, like Jirachi. As well, you also got Raw there for Subcombine Jirachi to stop it getting too out of hand. Although you've also got Earthquake on Snorlax. One thing you'll notice is that this Snorlax, quote unquote, can't touch Gengar. But with Doom Desire, with Pursuit Star, and Paralysis and Mixments, that kind of Fortress and Mixments together, you've got 3 different ways of saying I don't care about Gengar, right? You've got Focus Punch, so you know if you're in against a sleeping Skarmory, you can hurt it. You've got Body Slam for your stab, spreading Paralysis, and then Earthquake as well. Earthquake's actually very important here. I've not used it on necessarily all the teams, or I've used Snorlax. I've actually quite liked Yawn in some cases as well, for a surprisingly similar job. But it doesn't make any sense doing that with Breloom, does it? So here, Earthquake. And that helps you break defensive Rachis on the opponent's side. And it helps you hit Metagross harder as well, which is obviously something that likes switching in anyway. And yeah, it's a great move. Plus you've still got Boom, which is obviously great on offensive Snorlax, but with Wish support, with Spin support, with Pursuit support, you don't need to boom it at 60%. Well, maybe you boom it at 60%, but you don't have to. It's a bit more flexible. You've got Wish support for it. You've got tools to make its attacks do more when it's in. That's the thing with Snorlax, is it's a great Pokemon, but you need to be doing damage when it gets in, because it doesn't last forever, does it? So make it count, and Doom Desire just helps you make it count. So that's this team for you. I've got 2 more as well. We'll look at this one. I've got a Yawlax and I've got an Hidden Power Grass Jirachi paired with Aerodactyl. Pretty nasty combination. And yeah, you've got Snorlax as well. Often, like with this kind of structure, I mean, you wouldn't really see like a Jirachi here normally anyway. But you'd probably see like a Blissey instead, and you know, and probably would be like Skarmory instead of Fortress, and you know, it's a different way of approaching things. And yeah, using it as well with like Aerodactyl seems kind of filthy, doesn't it? I mean, it's already a Pokemon that can be very forcing, but when you're saying Aerodactyl doesn't have to care about what's switching in, and it can just like Rock Slide or hit whatever's in front of it, it's crazy, man. I mean, obviously, it doesn't work quite so well with Blissey, but again, you've got Snorlax for that. But, I don't know, against like Gengar maybe, it could help. I don't know, spitballing a bit there, but you kind of get the picture. And this one as well. This is like the Jirachi set that I think is most splashable, which is like this specially defensive variant with Body Slam and Thunder. You've got that huge paralysis spreading ability, which pairs awesomely with Snorlax as well. That's like another thing as well. Often these Pokemon that are bulky, hard-hitting tanks without their own recovery, they're often quite slow as well. So, paralysis spreading was really nifty for them. But this team's got Crocoon as well. It's got a Weezing. It's quite a stally team here. With like Wish Jirachi just gluing it all together. So yeah, this team I've nicknamed Pure Filth. But I think we're finally ready for some replays. Now, I'm not necessarily going to go through all of these from start to finish. The last one I will, because it's awesome. But I just want to illustrate a few things. So this one is against a subpar Zapdos. This endgame's already looking pretty good, like a Carmine Jirachi would clean up here. So, you know, again, this Jirachi is still able to do the job. So here it you know, it still can stop subpar Zapdos from doing too much damage. So yeah, we'll just watch it break through. I mean, this endgame, you know, more than one Jirachi variant could win this endgame for sure. And I've got a mixed mounts as well. This is already like a pretty good setup, and Jirachi didn't come until late. Like, obviously, there's a whole team around it. Not every game is Jirachi going to be the focal point and magical. But this one was pretty good. Even though it got T-Bolt powered, which is filthy. It's so unfortunate, but even so, it's still holding on because it's bulky and managed to finally hit a Thunder through paralysis, and then Doom Desire, Zapdos goes down, and I think I just went Breloom here to clean it up, but anyway, there's a one example. This one was when we just started figuring things out. This was a PK Leech team, I think, that C-Town was given. I don't think he fully understood how to pilot it. He faced Alien. But here we're going to see this Fortress get like 50%. How are we going to make it drop? As a Blissey. Just switching into Jirachi like it's nothing. I think Alien as well hadn't like necessarily fully grasped how Doom Desire works at this point anyway, or maybe I don't know if it's Firegrass Jirachi, but not much of a scene switches all that well into it anyway. But Solas comes in, forces out the Carmine Blissey, and bam. Fortress switches in. That would be such a huge issue for the Snorlax if it weren't for the fact it just got dropped at 41%. It's so satisfying seeing it work as well. So, obviously, at higher and higher levels, moves like this get harder to pull off. But I think this does have potential at the highest level of play. Now this one, I've got quite a few replays lined up. This one was a ladder battle for me. Obviously, it's not the most sophisticated one, given they sacrificed turn 1. I'm going to put it on fast. I'm going to drink some water because my throat is not having the most fun today. As I said earlier, I'm quite sick, but got a lucky crit power there. And just got rid of this Metagross. It's disgusting, but I think this one is about how Salakberry and Doom Desire work together. So, making short work here, which is always nice. But Doom Desire Jirachi is pretty good against Emperor, actually, which is quite cute. So I've gotten up 3 layers. If we hover over here, we can see 3 layers. But we're able to just like sit up on it, wish in front of it. He's trying to freeze me. I Doom Desire. And then I'm casting a wish here, I think, to the Snorlax as well. Just watch me deal with it. It switches out for now. So we just body slam it. I'll try and pursue the arrow. In the end, doesn't quite work out, but hey, I can abuse that with Doom Desire here. Again. I'm not sure what my thinking is going to Fortress here, but I guess I was just trying to paralyze the Zapdos, but oh well. Anyway. I didn't really need Fortress at that stage in the game, and I just wanted to get Snorlax in, so anyway. Let's check this is all running smoothly as well. I think we get an endgame here against the Swampert. So I Doom Desire here. Let me slow things down a bit. Or at least to normal. The Endeavors. And then... And I didn't actually realize this was the mechanics at the time when I was doing this. But, you know, I switch in my my Salamence there. Doom Desire hits. And Salak doesn't activate. How cool is that? Just cleans up. And that's the game. So, I also mentioned as well the bug, and it's completely a visual glitch. But suppose you use an attack like Body Slam that can never miss, and on the turn that Doom Desire is supposed to hit, and Doom Desire misses, the Pokemon Showdown graphics will show the Body Slam missing, and then Doom Desire hitting. It's a little quirk. I'm obviously, as a Smogon banned person, I'm not able to report it, but feel free to if you see it happen. So the last two games, this one's a tournament game and the last one is a ladder game that's just too beautiful not to include. So this one I'm going to put on fast. Doom Desire is used here, but it's more to like clean up the end game than anything else. You also get to see Yawn Lax in action as well. Yawn and Focus Punch working together. Lizangela's just completely getting Focus Punched there. I love Yawn. It's so cool. Look at this. It just forces so many switches. It's beautiful. But yeah, well, I won't put this even. No, there's Thunder with T-Tar as well, putting in work. I want to do a separate video on that. But yeah, in this game there isn't a Blissey. So, that last Pokemon isn't a Blissey. In fact, we'll see that it's an Aerodactyl, but the Yawn Snorlax is good at forcing out Fortress, even though it doesn't actually damage it. Pursuit Tar as well is quite useful at pressuring Celebi, so Celebi's definitely like not the special wall you want to see with this Jirachi, but it has its upsides. In terms of like you have other ways of pressuring it, you can also explode on it potentially with Snorlax, which has some upsides for your teammates, but anyway, Fortress Wars. I kind of want to put it on even faster since I don't have much to say, but on the other hand, I kind of don't want to skip through it like too fast so you can get like a sense of where the game's going here. Fortress is being pressured by Pursuit Tar. I get a Pursuit off on it, and then the Suicune comes in as well. I could have Roared as well. Potentially Scout the last, or try and pursue the Jirachi. I mean, there's lots of options, but here the Jirachi so far has just been using Wish, but here I'm getting off a Doom Desire, even though it won't do a ton, like we saw from the calc. It's probably doing about 70 to something, but a Sludge Bomb, maybe I should have Wisp there. Hey, who's to say? But it is at least forces Celebi out. And yeah, I got some free damage on that Jirachi, which otherwise would be at like 90. So it's something. It's just a pressure tool. Obviously, in a longer game like this, the PP is gonna potentially be an issue as well. But this is the pure filth team, quote unquote, that I'm using here. The last one will feature. The last game is just such a beautiful game, where Omnirachi in the first team that I showed does unbelievable amounts of work in a game end game, perhaps where or like a final position where maybe no other Jirachi set could do quite what it does. But yeah, obviously, like comparing this Jirachi set with other Jirachi sets is a bit awkward. It's kind of like enables certain structures. So, like maybe in some of these teams you could run Wish Comp Mind instead of the Doom Desire variant. But I guess one downside, or like a defensive Wish Jirachi, like the Calm Mind variants are a bit weaker to Dugtrio, and the pure Wish ones they don't provide as much pressure. But on the other hand, they're like more defensively stable, so it's a trade-off. Like I know it is a potent set, but it is obviously kind of circumstantial how good it is into a given matchup. I'm not saying as well that I'm playing optimally in any of these games. You can obviously critique my plays too, but in this game, the Jirachi will prove pretty nice. Towards the end game as well, so able to start getting off wishes as well. Wisps, I think. Yeah, burn this Jirachi. I think this ends up heal bell. He's got heal bell Celebi. I think it ends up paralyzed later, which is kind of funny. But yeah, Thunder Wave the Aerodactyl, kind of nice. But yeah, since I'm not paused, you get to hear all the coughs that I would otherwise like pause to get rid of. So that's fun, but yeah, I think this replay's about 90 turns. How long are we in? We're 50 minutes in, so you're getting a proper BKC length video for this one. I hope you enjoy it. I'm sorry I don't have quite so much to say. Hopefully the sound quality is better, like I said at the start. But yeah, mostly I had some tips from a guy who I met in B's server. B has like a small server, but anyway, he was sort of like, make sure I'm like using like the microphone that I've actually got. Oh look, there's Wish Jirachi as well, wishing up this Tyranitar as well. That's handy. So in like these long drawn out games as well, just having Wish as well is always good. But yeah, there's multiple nice options here. But yeah, I think in the end, like the problem was just that my gain setting was a bit higher than I needed it, and just doing some testing, I figured that one out. But anyway, we get a Doom Desire off here. So Aerodactyl, if you remember, is like one of the decent targets for Doom Desire. So we'll see how much this Doom Desire does now. If we slow it down a little bit, 38. So, you know, there's no Blissey in this game, but Aerodactyl's still a very good Pokemon to get it off against. And in like a longer drawn out game, that's pretty nifty. I ended up exploding the Snorlax here to start forcing stuff. Now I can get a more permanent Spikes advantage as well. To play with. Maybe I shouldn't have Sleep Talk there, but I guess going for Surf against Aero is obviously quite nice. But there's another Doom Desire as well. And I start trying to spread some paralysis as well. So hey. But yeah, maybe I could have been more forcing with that in retrospect and just like gone to a Wheezing and like Sludge Bombed or gone to Tyranitar and Fire Blasted or something, but that Wish helped out, and that 38 earlier on the Jirachi as well, still sticking. I've got the spikes as well, so doing some good damage here. But yeah, in retrospect, I wasn't thinking about the Sloop Talk mechanics very much, and I maybe should have tried to just get Jirachi, Suicune to wake up a bit easier, but even so. I think I just opted to try and get some damage off with Suicune here. Yeah, I don't have Explosion on Wheezing. I don't generally run Explosion on Wheezing, but obviously feel free to try it. Yeah, I guess I didn't achieve very much in that particular case, but this was about just like, I think, just like getting all the spikes I needed, and I think they forfeited pretty soon after this. I'm not sure how many Spikes Layers I've got, but I guess I get 3. And then there's just Jirachi in here. I haven't revealed Earthquake yet, but I use it there. I'll get the pressure on Jirachi. I think he forfeits pretty close to here, so yeah, there goes Jirachi. Or she. I don't know, I assume Los Angeles is probably she with that name, but that's that. And the last one. The game which Roro described as magical. So this is a fun one. This is a ladder game, rated 1461. I'm not that high on ladder, and I also can't use this alt anymore because somebody got it locked, which is so annoying. But anyway, Fortress. Seeing a Protect Metagross turn 1, I Earthquake because I anticipate the presence of a Magneton. I think it's a pretty reasonable play, but I could have Zap Cannoned. It's just, I think when you're pretty certain it's a Magneton, then using Zap Cannon is a bit riskier than you'd like. But when you're like really genuinely unsure, then there's hitting Charizard with a Zap Cannon would have been awesome. But anyway, there's a Gengar here that I don't quite actually successfully trap in this instance. I think I end up going for Thunder Wave. You speed it back up to normal. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is going so quick. But yeah, Thunder Wave as Blissey comes in, so maybe I fucked that up and I should have just caught it, but we'll see that doesn't end up hurting me too much later on. And I got too much in my own head as well there with that Thunder Wave. So I'm like, oh, they're just going to go to a Snorlax answer here, and yeah. This is like going to be one of those funny games where Fortress doesn't really... I think I spike here, but I'm not sure. No, I Zap Cannon because I'm like, that's more valuable to get paralysis on Charizard or Gengar than getting a spike up, which is very funny, but also like completely true. Because like, having the speed advantage on Charizard's so nice because like when it's slow, then you don't have to worry about Blaze so much, and Snorlax can outspeed it, and Jirachi can outspeed it, and Tyranitar can outspeed it, and so on. I'm using Shadow Ball on this Snorlax, and I later changed it to Earthquake after playing Golden Sun, after realizing that my Snorlax just can't break defensive Jirachi, and I needed that, and that Shadow Ball wasn't actually necessary. So, a spike up here. I'm like, Gengar's likely coming in, but this is the safest play. I don't want to mess around too much. I do want my spikes. I try for a Zap Cannon and I miss as well, which is brutal. So a lot of this early game actually goes quite badly for me. A Zap Cannon here. And then I'm like, well, I could switch into this Charizard, right? I could go to Pursuitar, but that's like got a good chance of just dying to Fire Blast. And it would be nice to trap this Charizard. I've got one layer of spikes. As BKC rightly says, the second layer doesn't matter very much. And I'm using Snorlax. So ideally, I want spikes off. So even though there's a healthy Skarmory there, I've got a Breloom. I can hope to sleep it before it gets spikes up. So I actually spin and sacrifice my Fortress here to Pursuit Trap the Charizard with my Tyranitar. So it's quite a spicy play already. Having to give up Fortress is obviously never ideal when there's a healthy Skarm left. And dancing around Metagross is also never pleasant, but so then I sacrifice the Tyranitar there, so that Gengar looks like a gigantic threat, right? But I do have Breloom. They decide to take the sleep with Suicune, so presumably it's a Crocue. We've now seen their whole team. And the Skarmory looks disgusting, but there's also like a threat of just going Gengar here as well. So I go Jirachi, which handles the Gengar switch and handles the Skarm switch. We're looking at this game in depth right now. So that mid-grounds both of those plays. Against Skarmory, at least I can Thunder it and do intense damage. I don't want to be letting Skarm spike up in my face, so I go for a Thunder. I get the Thunder off. Again, imagine if I got a Zap Cannon off earlier as well with Fortress on this thing. Because I missed when he got the Wisp hit. Then like Gengar just dies to a Thunder there, and he wouldn't be staying in, and possibly Blissey would be coming in, or Metagross would be coming in, right? So, I go for Thunder, and then obviously he's going to switch out here. I go for another as well just to be forcing. And it misses, but I skill swap here, which is just like, it's just such an Uno reverse card, man. You don't get to use skill swap in awesome ways that often. Even though there's like quite a few potential uses here, getting to heal off the burn so that the Doom Desire will count more is really nice. But also I don't necessarily want to just like switch in and let Gengar come in for free again, right? I mean, obviously I've got Shadow Ball on Gengar, but if I Doom Desire against this thing, then there's no threat of Gengar coming into my Snorlax, and I can actually get off some good damage with it. Although there's still Scum to look out for, right? So here I go Snorlax, and I think I Focus Punch trying to catch Skarmory, but I'm not sure. Or Metagross gets caught, yeah. Oh, I just Body Slam. Fair enough. So, the Burn Doom Desire, if I can hop over to this chart quickly, I haven't included it here, but you can roughly cut the numbers in half, so against 252 defense Blissey, it's probably doing 85 to 100, so that's around about the same as to Claydol. So, against a Skarmory, or against a Metagross, you'd expect to do 24 to 28, against a Skarmory about 25 to 30. Let's go back to the replay. And here it does 23, which is quite on the low end actually, if you remember. So that indicates actually it's quite a bulky Metagross. Now I dance around it quite badly here. There's Earthquake. This could have all gone very horribly wrong, but it somehow just kind of works out. I end up like wishing to Salamence. Maybe I should have skill swapped, as insane as that was, so that like the Salamence could actually intimidate it and be a big threat, because Mixed Mass is pretty good here. But I end up having to try and settle it with Jirachi, and it ends up working out. Again, this is probably easier with Fire Punch, right? But with Thunder, still was doable. So, and then I end up going Breloom to, again, to be forcing, I guess. He doesn't opt to go Gengar, even though I can't actually hit it. He doesn't know that. Obviously, HP Ghost is possible, so let's take a moment to reflect on this endgame. I have a Snorlax and a Jirachi against a team with Blissey, Suicune, Skarm, Gengar. And I have the most insane looking Jirachi set. Sub-Calm Mind could be a threat, but there's a Calm Mind Blissey. It's hardly a guarantee. Calm Mind Wish would make more sense with the Snorlax, but you've not got much hope. You'll get burned by Gengar, and then Calm Mind Blissey beats you. So you're left with this set, which can do some magic. Because Thunder hits Gengar to kill it, hits Skarmory for a 2-hit KO, and hits Suicune, so... And, it would also hit Charizard as well if we had Paralyzed Charizard left as well. So it's really awesome against this particular team with just Thunder and Doom Desire coverage. But here, somehow... let's go back a ton. So, not only that, but we're also worried about Skarmory just getting spikes up whenever we want to go like Snorlax. So if this was just like a defensive Wish Jirachi, right? Which is something else you might like. Ultimately, that can't break Blissey very easily. I mean, you can use like Toxic Fire Punch, but then you'll get burned and you'll be set up bait for Suicune. Then you'll have to go Snorlax, they'll get spikes up on you, and eventually they're just winning that endgame. The power of this Jirachi is that it forces your opponent to go Blissey, and by forcing your opponent to go Blissey, it allows your Snorlax to come in and still do damage, even though the opponent still has multiple active Snorlax answers. That's why it's so good. It lets Snorlax work in an endgame that's bad for it, because the endgame lets Jirachi face off against the special wall. So that turn 39, you see the Skarm fully paralyzed, but it was going for protect, which is obviously risky with paralysis, but even if they had protected, that still goes through. It's still beautiful. They go for it again here. So ultimately they do get to heal up a bit, but they don't even get up any Spike Slayers. And I missed Thunder as well there, but we still got Doom Desire. This Suicune is not doing it. The opponent's kind of just like forced to flail around a bit. Maybe they should have gone Blissey. But doing that, now I get to get off a Doom Desire of my own. Now my opponent definitely at different stages in this game could have played better. I think once you understand how this set gets played, it doesn't become like unviable or anything, but it does have limitations that you can exploit, like staying in with a Doom Desire Pokemon if you can is huge, as a way of preventing the Doom Desire from being effective, or or at least preserving your answers to Jirachi's partners, so that you can hope to like PP stall the Doom Desire or something like that. That's also like something you could do. But here, look, Doom Desire against the Blissey. I go Snorlax. I could probably Focus Punch here, and that might even be better, given that the Blissey's fully paralyzed. But Body Slam is also very safe. But Focus Punch would prevent them from soft boiling. But Body Slam, if they attack, then they'd be screwed as well. So I'm the one in control here. I can Body Slam or I can Focus Punch. If Gengar comes in, there's an 85% chance it dies. If Skarmory comes in, there's an 85% chance it dies. And watch. Body Slam. Skarmory is at 65%, switching into Snorlax, and it dies, pretty much. 5%, he doesn't even try. Body Slam does 16%, so Snorlax just killed a Skarm at 65% without running Fire Blast, without running Thunder, without splitting its EVs, without even using Focus Punch, just using Body Slam. He got through a 65% Skarmory. You see, this is peak Future Jirachi in action. This is peak Omni Jirachi, in fact, as the ability to heal the burn was huge as well. So, hopefully this game demonstrates at least at its peak how good this Jirachi set can be. So now there's an endgame. There's a Gengar. Well, let's see. So I've got Shadow Ball. They know I can KO this Gengar. So obviously that's why they didn't decide to go to it. But I go to Jirachi because I don't want my Gengar burned so that I can explode on Blissey to end the game. And if it's burned, then like maybe it's a little bit risky. There's things that could go wrong. But here, I just I skill swapped. I Thunder to force out the Gengar. I skill swap to get rid of the burn, and I Doom Desire. Maybe the skill swap was unnecessary. I could just Doom Desire as it is, but I guess it helps to hedge in the cases of Doom Desire missing, right? But here, it's forcing, and like this, you see, Snorlax is just so good when you support it properly. It didn't even move. I clicked Body Slam, I think. It didn't even move. Gengar died, and now I just self-destruct to victory. That's game. I hope I've illustrated just how insane this game was, at least. How insane Future Jirachi can be. Oh my god, what a set, man. What a set. What an insane set. So that's kind of the goal. That's what you want your Jirachi to be doing. It supports Snorlax in just an immaculate way. BKC doesn't think Snorlax is terribly great. Obviously, it's maybe a little bit oversold. Maybe he's a bit overselling it. But I think your Snorlax is pretty good, and this is one of the reasons why. I think this set supports it beautifully. It helps keep it healthy, like wish Jirachis do, of course. But the cherry on top, Doom Desire, helps Snorlax ignore its resistances, ignore its immunities, do damage without predicting, do damage without thinking. That's Snorlax's biggest issue, right? Or one of its biggest issues, is you kind of need to predict with it to do damage a lot of the time. You've got to use like naked focus punches. You've got to deal with Tyranitar, Metagross, Skarmory, Gengar. Like most of the top 10 Pokemon in ADVOU are Snorlax checks. Like if you go below that, there's a whole host of things that Snorlax feeds on. But in the top 10, Snorlax check after Snorlax check. Against TSS, Snorlax has the hardest time normally because there's so many answers to it. It's Metagross, Jirachi, Gengar, Skarmory, Forretress, Tyranitar, Aerodactyl. With Jirachi, you're seeing Blissey and Aero quite often. You're seeing Pokemon to get Doom Desire off against. You're seeing Gengars as well. Those are Pokemon that suddenly you want to see with your Snorlax team. Suddenly your Snorlax is not afraid of TSS, it welcomes TSS. And when your Snorlax is welcoming TSS, it's going to be excellent in the other matchups as well. Snorlax is excellent against like Carmine Spam. Obviously like the best matchup for it. Or Rain as well is like excellent to see. But you know, against like physical offense, it's not doing nothing either. So, Jirachi can help a bit against that as well. Or the other teammates as well. And their mixed Mance is pretty awesome against physical offense. And that's the thing as well, is if you're helping to get through like Gengar, that helps the mixed Mance as well. It helps the Skarmory, the Forretress, it helps the Breloom. It gives you more than just Pursuit as well to try and get through Gengar. You have more than one option as well. That's like one of the big problems of trapping is never quite as reliable as you'd like. It's restrictive in the builder and in play, and yet at the same time, it's not quite reliable enough to just be like, I'm comfortable, but Pursuits are Jirachi together, and I feel comfortable running 2 Pokemon that don't hit Gengar, and a third one that can only paralyze it. It's magical. So, obviously, the set has downsides. I've picked the best replays of it in action. But hopefully I've at least convinced you that this set has some potential. You can try it on your own teams, with your own ideas, with your own setups. Trying to play it in different ways against different matchups. Build with it with different partners. There's so much you can do. But at least you can see it can be an immensely powerful tool in some end games. It supports Pokemon like Snorlax, Physical Tita, Hariyama, maybe Heracross, Breloom. It helps these Pokemon just be immensely threatening. So please, down below, I'll put the calc that I made. Obviously, it's more of a reference tool than a calculator per se. I'll put the teams as well. I'll put the replays. And yeah, I could also put some sample variants, but like, subscribe, give someone a kiss. I don't know. It's been disaster area, staying up way too late while feeling sick as a dog. I'll see you later. Bye bye.